Hi everyone, this is Debbie Happy Cohen here today with Joy-Based Living, and today I'm going to try to tackle a really important topic. I actually want to summarize some of the work that Richard Grannon has brilliantly created that has been absolutely life transforming for me and for the people that I'm working with and for my friends. Anybody who has been dealt a hand of cards of trauma, emotional trauma. This was just brilliant. He basically took all these different pieces that we were already practicing, already doing, and rearranged them in a way that kind of said, okay, if you're going to bake bread, put the yeast in first. So that's my metaphor. It's not going to make sense, but that's okay. I think you're going to get this. If you are up for the conversation about healing trauma, or what he claims is curing PTSD. My experience is that you'll get to the other side and you will keep growing. You will just grow and grow and grow, and you will leave the old stuff behind. It just feels so good. So you ever get to that place in your life where, or in your day or in your week, where you're having negative thoughts going on, or you're having discouragement happening in your mind, and you're trying to mitigate it? You're like, what do I need to do? Maybe you meditate, maybe you think positive thoughts, maybe you call somebody. If you're a 12-stepper, maybe you go to a meeting, whatever you need to do. So I was talking to someone last night who really does his best to handle these things, but really bumps against a lot of inner difficulties in himself. And I said, when you talk to yourself and you give yourself positive messages, who's doing the talking? And he said, he thought for a minute, and he said, I think it's my soul. And no matter what your answer is, I'm going to offer up to you what Richard Grannon is offering up. And it's going to take a minute. So I'm going to also put the links to his videos, there are 4 videos for you to get the whole thing. And I'm going to try to sum it up in like 10 or 15 minutes. So imagine that you're a kid, a little kid, like a year-old, and you have a parent who yells a lot, and maybe you have a parent who's very sad. And the parent who yells a lot also gives you food and tucks you into bed at night sometimes, and sometimes plays games with you. So this is somebody that, if you imagine you are a young child, like a year old, you're receiving very confusing messages from somebody who you completely rely on. So imagine a circle, like on a whiteboard or something. Imagine a circle that's really big, that when it yells and it's inflated, it's really big. And then the little kid who's feeling traumatized from being yelled at, or maybe that they're not even being yelled at directly. Maybe one parent is yelling at the other and the kid goes into trauma. So what happens there is the kid gets split, like confused. This is what love is. You're learning love right there. You're learning how to love, how to be loved. What love looks like. Then imagine that there's part of you, and he credits transactional analysis and psychology. There's part of you that's your ego and your adult, which is supposed to grow, which is supposed to become its own individual based on your needs, based on your preferences, based on your feelings. That thing is supposed to grow and blossom, right? Well, what happens is this is really big, this is really big, and this is really small. And when this is really small, the identity that is supposed to grow and individuate and have its own agency and its own individuality gets stunted. The problem that happens is that what I'm going to now call that loud voice, that loud negative voice, is the inner critic. Is that criticism turns into recordings. And those recordings keep going. Not just the recordings of the actual critic, but that child who made decisions said, oh man, I'm alone. Oh, I'm invisible. So that got recorded in there too. And that decision might have been simply on a feeling level. Oh, you gotta figure it out yourself. You know, that kind of thing. And so you grow up and you're like, how come I keep recreating the same situations? Well, it's your recording that's going on inside of you however many years later. So then you go to his second video. There's 4. So the second one, there's like, oh, there's a relief. You see 3 circles on the page, and it's the inner parent, inner child, and inner adult, and they're all the same size, and they're smiling. They're feeling good. So the point you want to get here is when you're a little kid, little, and you look up to the people who are taking care of you, in your eyes, those people might as well be God. What they say goes. If we need to do this, we do this. If we need to do it, the world revolves around them as a little child. I'm not saying they are God. I'm saying they are like God. They're like God to that little kid. So imagine that little kid being knee high and having these pummeling negative messages coming down. So obviously what needs to be changed is those negative messages. And by the way, part of the negative message could be that the parent turns away, neglects the child. So let's say child is pointing at like, oh, look. And, they just get a flat affect from the parent. Or they're like, oh, I need something. And the parent just gives them a still face. Well, that will also create trauma. So I'm going to do a little bridging. Mario Martinez's work, if the kid was shamed a lot, they're going to feel a lot of heat on the inside. If they were humiliated, they'll feel heat. If they feel betrayed, they're receiving promises, but promises are being broken. They're going to feel angry. It's going to be heat also. But if the sun, what was supposed to be the sun on that flower, if it's hot, it's too much. If it turns away, there's not enough sun. Some parents want the child to be the sun. Oh, you're my sunshine. You're my little doll. Missing the point. So let's go back to the thing about the gods up there. What we want from those gods is what? Support, validation. Oh, you're crying. Okay, what's up? Let me see what I can do. How can I be there for you? It's a look on your face. Okay, so here's where it shifts, and here's how he's suggesting to shift the recordings, which if you do it, it's going to take courage for you to look at the crappy feelings. It's going to take emotional literacy on your part. So I'm giving you a shortcut version here that requires skill building. I've been doing these skills for many years. All he did for me is, I had the principles already, is rearrange how I was doing it. If you're starting from scratch, go to his links. I'll put them below. Get his emotional literacy program. Do the things. Just go into detail and do that. We do pieces of that at Joy-Based Living, but he's nailing it for this particular thing. So in order to change the recordings, what you want to have happen is for that little kid. Remember I asked in the beginning, who is giving the positive messages and who are they giving them to? I mean, you're talking to yourself, right? So looking up, receiving positive messages. Now we're going into his video number 3. Who's receiving those positive messages? Not the adult you, the little you. So you create these healthy gods these healthy, tall things. So you can put like a picture of yourself, like in a little collage, and then you can get really tall figures of whoever you need. Now, the way that he suggests that you break it down is in terms of deciding what you need is you have 3 lists: feelings, attitudes, and sayings. So maybe you needed to feel love, kindness, compassion. I've used feeling charts for a long time, and then he recommended a color feeling wheel, and I really like this one. So you go to the side where it says your feelings when your needs are met. So it can go everything from proud, joyful, fascinated, engaged, assured, adored, connected. I think those are the biggest ones for little kids. Content. So those are the feelings in your imagination or in your artwork being delivered by those gods to that little kid. The attitudes. List of attitudes. It doesn't have to all be kind and sweet. It could be maybe you had a really neglectful parent and you need somebody who's going to be like, okay, we're going to do 20 push-ups today. Maybe that's what you needed in a parent. So it's really up to you what those big people would be saying to that little person today. And it could change tomorrow. But generally, you're going to get kind of the same words across the board with lots and lots and lots of people. We all need the same thing. So all we're doing is just readjusting. And for you, it'll be unique in your own way, but it's not really that unique. We all need water. We all need air. It's kind of like that. But you have to figure out for you but you're going to ask the little one. You're going to ask that one, what do you need? So like, I love Mr. Rogers, but Mr. Rogers didn't show up in my art. You know who showed up was like David Bowie and Leonard Cohen and David Burns. And ever since I did the art, it was like, there's me, there's them really tall because I stretched them and I made them really tall on, a Photoshop kind of a thing. And she is like sitting near their knees. And so she's little and they're really big. So what happened since I did that artwork is, I keep it on my desktop and on my phone, and like music started playing in my mind on a more regular, like fun music that they would sing. Now these are 3 2 of them are like really fun and wacky. One of them is serious and compassionate. But it wasn't Mr. Rogers. That's not what she wanted and needed. She wanted to go to the park and play with these wacky guys who would like, dress her up in really weird things and let her be whoever she was and whoever she wanted to be. And so then I said, list of feelings, list of attitudes, and the third one is list of things that they would say. So for me, some of them were like, gosh, I don't remember right now. I'm sorry. But like, they might be, hey, where do you want to go today? Hey, let's go play. Or, they're in it to have fun. They just want to have a good time. They just want to say, hey, where should we go eat? Or, what toy do you want to get in the store? They're not like overwhelmingly spoiling her to death. They're just like, hey, you're really cool. Let's go play. And, that rearrangement, that distinction of where to put the positive voice and for whom, it hit the spot for me. It really hit the spot, and I've shared it with a few people, and it's being received well. It's not always easy though if the person does not want to feel what they're feeling. I'm gonna go to video 4 now. I'm giving you really, really small snippets here, but this is what stood out to me on video 4 of this series that he just did. It was about codependency. And he drew a picture of a cave. And he said, don't tell me it's an ugly picture. Don't offend me. Or something. That was very cute. Just a basic drawing of a cave. And he said, when somebody is being abused, traumatized, the natural response is to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fawn is like befriending. That's like the heart of codependency. If I'm nice, then they'll be nice back. Depends on the person. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. In a severely abusive relationship, when the person goes to hide in their cave, their boundaries are smashed. And when their boundaries are smashed, they're not allowed to hide. They're not allowed to run. They're not allowed to fight back. They have to answer. And being nice isn't working. If this continuously happens, what that person does is they go to a deeper part of the cave. And from that deeper part of the cave, their needs, their feelings, and their desires, they become closed down. And the person becomes hypersensitive to what the other people in their lives feel, need, and want. And if there's nobody there, they'll find somebody on the street. What do they feel, need, and want? And if there's nobody there, they'll make up that the universe needs, feels, and wants all these things. Anything except, what do I feel, need, and want? Because that was not only not allowed, but the conditioning came with fear and very likely terror. Not just for you, but if you actually owned some of those things, you might not just be the one hurt, but your other people that you love might be hurt as well. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you're probably not even listening this far. And so Richard Grannon's point was, that's where the healing needs to happen. That's codependency. It's using compassion on every level possible to ease yourself out. To be compassionate toward yourself in those places where you were trained to be really, really mean to yourself. He also offers up a 5-finger technique for stepping back into the moment, back into the moment, back into the moment. Because what happens in that cave is you go into emotional flashbacks and dissociation, and then you lose focus about what? About your own life, about your individuality, about your needs, feelings, and wants. Which doesn't make for a full life. It makes for a partial life. It's not fun, and it's very confusing. It was designed to be confusing, so you would stay in the cave. Because the more you stayed in the cave, the less work the abuser would have to do to keep you there. So, I think that's all I have to say about that, says Forrest Gump. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. I never expected to be having these conversations. My book that I wrote 20 years ago was Reach Your Stars. This has come as a response to, well, how come I can reach some of those stars but not those? Or how come these people can reach those but not those? Or how come these people can reach for their stars and they just keep going, 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 going? This is it, baby. This is it. This is the it. This is the dark side of Reach Your Stars. And I'm thrilled to feel so free and so enlivened by such dark topics. I know I'm bringing more humor into it now, and I will continue to do that. And I'll be coming up with an ebook very soon for newsletter subscribers. And the S word is in the cover. Oh, S-H. Oh. It's about healing invisible trauma. Oh, I just gave you 2 pieces of the acronym. IT, invisible trauma. Thank you for being with me here on this journey for empowering your joy and taking inspired action as often as you can and bringing more joy to the world. Thank you. I'll see you on the next video.